years of enduring a controversial legal battle that had captured international interest, she emerges vindicated and determined to tell her side of the story. And from behind bars to the ballot, what lies ahead as she offers herself again to the electorate? Let's zoom in on former Senator Leila de Lima. Welcome to the program, attorney.
Hello there, Manchu. Thank you. My honor, my pleasure to be in your program.
It is definitely our pleasure to have you here. How has everything been so far since your freedom from detention?
Oh, I've been terribly busy. Well, I initially thought of a more quiet life and a more manageable routine. But then again, things just happen. And after my release on bail, that's provisional liberty, in November of 2023, there have been lots of invitations of various engagements and reunions with family, with friends, with classmates.
Can you take us back to that moment in 2017 when the charges were first filed against you? What was going through your mind, and did you think that it would really go that distance or that far?
Not at all. I was in utter disbelief. And of course, I was enraged about what happened. I never thought that then President Duterte and his cohorts would go to the extent of filing cases against me and let alone jail me. I thought it was just gonna be daily or regular vilification, slut shaming, and all that by the former president and his men. So I was in utter disbelief. Although about 2 months earlier, I was receiving information already that the DOJ would be filing cases against me.
You mentioned in a TV interview in June that full justice cannot be achieved without holding those responsible for your political persecution accountable. So who do you believe should be held accountable, and what specific actions would you like to see taken against them?
My lawyers are doing the preparations on what cases exactly to be filed against my persecutors. But it's very clear to me that my chief persecutor, my chief oppressor, the one behind it, is the former president himself, because he did that out of personal and political vendetta because of my efforts at trying to hold him accountable and calling him out for those killings. Way back in 2009, for the Davao Death Squad or DDS killings in Davao City. And then in 2016, when he started doing the same thing, when all of these killings are again happening under the guise of the war on drugs, he instructed his minions to vilify me in that Kangaroo House hearings in 2016, where they presented this beleaguered inmates as their witnesses. It was former Justice Secretary Aguirre who was the chief enforcer of my persecution, with the help of certain handlers, with the help of certain other minions of theirs who did the convincing, the accessing, the coercing of the prospective witnesses against me.
You mentioned that your attorneys are in the process of studying what cases can be filed against these 3 individuals that you just named. How soon do you see this happening? Have you gathered any evidence, and just what sort of cases have been discussed?
I cannot tell you yet the timeline, and I also cannot disclose to you yet or disclose publicly the evidence that we are pursuing. And that's precisely why we cannot just be filing cases at this moment, because we're still in the process of also gathering evidence, of reviewing the entire records of the cases which went on for almost 7 years. Because, well, it's easy to craft a complaint, but coming up, compiling and collecting the appropriate evidence, sufficient evidence, is another matter. Because we need to talk to those believed witnesses, the believed inmates who falsely testified against me. Although some of them already indicated, but some of them had retracted their testimonies. Some of them had manifested their intention to recant, citing coercion. Now, we need to access them, but the problem is they are in jail. They are in a penal colony of the Bucor. They're not at the New Bilibid prison in Muntinlupa. So all of these things had to be prepared thoroughly before the filing of the actual cases.
Zoom in, we'll be right back.
It was actually a very difficult decision to make because my original plan is not at all to run for any position, whether it's the Senate or any other position for next year's elections.
Welcome back to Zoom In. Still with us, former Senator Leila de Lima. So, Attorney, you recently accepted the nomination to lead the Mamamayang Liberal Party list in the 2025 elections. How did you come to that decision, especially after all the years of political and personal battles?
It was actually a very difficult decision to make because my original plan is not at all to run for any position, whether it's the Senate or any other position for next year's elections. But it so happened that when I was going around, I've been to a lot of places, including schools and universities, interacting with people, interacting with students, and sharing my story in certain forums, political forums. People would always approach me and they would say something like, we want to see you again in the Senate. Why don't you run again for the Senate? And then I was telling them, no, magpapahinga muna po ako. I have other plans. And then it was not actually in my consciousness that I would be considering a party list post, that I would be a nominee of a particular party list. Although I've been helping out the ML, the Mamamayang Liberal, which is the sectoral wing of the LP. And then, while I was helping out ML, I realized that the party list route is worth seeking. That it's something that would be meaningful for me in terms again of accessing marginalized sectors and become the voice of these marginalized sectors. So I had to do a lot of reflections and also consultations with family, friends, and colleagues. Although some of them were pushing me to run for senator instead, but many of them actually were open to my being a nominee of the party list. I told myself, yes, that it's worth pursuing because it can just really be a continuation of my journey.
If elected into office in 2025, you already mentioned earlier that you have some legislation already in mind to empower certain sectors of our country. What are other key reforms or pressing issues you feel should take the forefront?
We have to fight against systemic injustices. We have to promote social justice. We have to be concerned about all of these revelations in the Quad Committee about the POGOs, the illegal activities, the drug smuggling, the use of false birth certificates, people pretending to be Filipino citizens when they are not, the entry of these fake Filipinos and their illegal activities. We have to strengthen the law enforcement sector. We could see lots of incidents involving wayward law enforcers, and also, of course, the issues of good governance that can address the prevalent problems of poverty, unemployment, and low wages, and
right.
corruption. And insofar as political issues are concerned, I am definitely one with those who are advocating for the abolition or the ban, or at the very least, the regulation of political dynasties.
And we will take a short break. Zoom in. We'll be right back. Do you feel like it's impossible for the victims to get justice within the Philippine justice system?
Expect in the slow justice system, and then the influence of the former president on our criminal justice system.
You're watching Zoom In. Still with us, former Senator Leila de Lima. So, Attorney de Lima, what are your thoughts on the ongoing International Criminal Court investigations into President Duterte's drug war? And how do you plan to continue supporting these efforts?
Just like many of us, we are awaiting a concrete development from the ICC. And I'm referring to the issuance of the warrant of arrest. I think it would come, and I hope it will be soon. And ICC's investigation must continue, even if there are remarkable efforts on the part of the Quadcom, in the Quad Committee, in digging into the issue of EJKs. But we have to admit that Congress won't have really all the time to dig deeper into the issue of the EJKs, into the crimes against humanity, because it has other responsibilities. When is that gonna happen? When will that be filed? Will there really be, honest to goodness, a prosecution? We have to allow ICC to proceed and to terminate its proceedings in pursuit of trial of these masterminds before the court itself. So because that's what they've been waiting for criminal cases to be filed here in the Philippines against the masterminds. Pero hindi naman nila yan nakita. That's why they continue to investigate. And from the looks of it, it's patapos na sila. And that's why we are expecting the issuance of the warrant of arrest. Then let the ICC decide later kung isususpend muna nila ang trial, kung makita nila na seryoso na pinupurso ng domestic systems natin yung kaso against the masterminds.
You keep mentioning the word mastermind because I think in July, in the House hearing of the Committee on Human Rights, you said, and I quote, "There is no doubt in my mind that former President Rodrigo Duterte is the mastermind, as he was the instigator and inducer of the drug war killing." So you are, when you say masterminds, you are referring to the former president.
No doubt.
Okay.
I have no doubt about it. Look at all his pronouncements before, the kill pronouncements. That was his policy, because now continuation lang nung kanyang policy rin noon sa Davao, yung mga DDS killings. And he also used some of the henchmen of the DDS in enforcing this war on drugs. Itong Oplantokhang na ito, it's based basically on the same philosophy nung DDS phenomenon. Dinala lang nila dito sa Metro Manila and nearby areas. And these death squads are PNP men or their agents. You know, men who killed during operations under the guise of nanlaban, and then agents, not necessarily PNP men, but they are also assassins in non-police operations.
But
yung mga vigilante killings, but pursuing the same policy of Mr. Duterte. So sino pa ba ang pinaka-mastermind dyan? Ginamit niya his PNP chief then, Bato de la Rosa.
But just to clarify po, ma'am, no, because you were saying that, let the ICC, hopefully they will hand down the warrant of arrest for former President Rodrigo Duterte in connection with the drug war killings. Do you feel like it's impossible for the victims to get justice within the Philippine justice system?
I'm not saying that it is really impossible,
Okay.
but definitely to expect in the slow justice system, and then the influence of the former president on our criminal justice system. He has men inside the criminal justice system, in the law enforcement sector, in the judicial system. And there would be a lot of strategies to be adopted by Dutertes camp to derail, to delay, and to frustrate the pursuit of accountability against them.
All right. Well, how do you feel about the continued popularity of the Dutertes?
Yes, it's still popular, but I think it's eroding because of all these revelations in the ongoing hearings. That is something, his popularity, especially before, has always baffled me, even at the height of the killings under the war on drugs. Even after his exit from Malacanang, he continued to be popular. It's a reflection of the high sense of frustration of the Filipinos, because they've been frustrated by the various failures of our system, including the justice system. So they are open to any other strategy, like extrajudicial killings, the quick fix solutions. Dapat nilang isipin that that is not at all the right remedy. Yes, quick fix. Yes, it's there. But look at the long-term consequences that it would cause to a society. It will gradually result in the breakdown of law and order if we just take justice into our own hands and without passing through the regular established systems of accountability.
Do you believe that the Dutertes should now be considered part of the opposition, given the apparent fallout between the president and the vice president?
If they feel they're now the opposition, then who would prevent them from espousing such a stance? But on the part of the LP, we consider ourselves as a true opposition. Because pag sinabi mong genuine opposition, you're supposed to have alternatives, o may mga alternative platform ka na talaga naman na pwedeng makaahon sa sitwasyon ng ating lipunan, especially on the issues of corruption and good governance.
Attorney, what do you want your legacy to be? I mean, not just in politics, but also as a human rights advocate and leader, and as a person.
I want people to remember that I never wavered in my beliefs, in my principles, and in my convictions. That I fought it out. That I respected the rule of law, even if the justice system initially failed me. When I failed to, when we failed in our quest for an immediate legal relief, when the warrants of arrest were filed against me. But my faith in the justice system continued. So I never wavered. I respected the rule of law, unlike other personalities who would flee, and that because of those convictions, I am able to prove my innocence and attain vindication. That I was really fighting for the right causes, for human rights and justice.
Former Senator Attorney Leila de Lima, thank you for your time. And we will see you next time as we continue to zoom in on news and narratives that matter. I'm Mention Makapagal.